Well, hello again, my friends, or my friend, or maybe just me. Another end of days dialogue with myself on camera here. So exciting. I'm losing my eloquence. I'm losing my ability to speak because I don't have many people to speak with in person like I used to back in the day. So I fumble and I struggle. It used to just come off my tongue extemporaneously, like a freight train, a cacophony of angels spouting bullshit. But now, not that good, sorry to say. Sorry for you. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about, that's what we do, right, on YouTube. We say, I want to talk about, and then we talk about something. I used to spend some time in Manhattan, various locations, and mostly around Washington Square Park. And back then in the 80s, it was, I don't know, Manhattan in the 80s. We dressed funny. We listened to weird music, Talking Heads. And, the financialization of the world economy had already begun decades earlier, or not decades, a little bit earlier, but it hadn't really blown up like it did during the Clinton administration. And then later on, after having such a great time in Manhattan, I went back in the 2000s. And, you started to see Disneyland Times Square happening. It's like Hong Kong and TST have all the Chinese mainlanders back in the day coming across to buy their brand goods in Hong Kong. It's so exciting. Get a Louis Vuitton bag in Hong Kong, an Armani jacket, or whatever you're going to get. And just be bathed in the total glory of being able to spend money on really expensive things. And making it family friendly like they did with Las Vegas. It's not just a den of vice anymore. You can bring the whole family. And they did that with Times Square. It was just this little Disneyland, You have the small world and the fake jungle and all these little roller coaster things and lots of gift shops, and you can go spend money on branded goods, and you got your Air Jordan gigantic bigger than life sign and all the flashing lights, the neon and the advertisements everywhere. It's mad. It's mad. And it was exciting. And you still had lots of filthy rich people, up the Fifth Avenue and so on, here and there, and their beautiful, beautiful houses and brownstones and whatnot, and they kind of added color, You had those wonderful TV shows about it. Sarah Jessica Parker. It was exciting. And, you go to Manhattan, you get rich, Donald Trump left Queens and went and made it big in Manhattan. It's just so exciting. It's the American dream. It's everything. And then it turns into Disneyland, tourist trap. And you started getting your gig houses, Airbnbs. Well, now the rich folk, the 0.00125%, are starting to bug out, not to the Hamptons, but to their Wyoming and Montana pads, if not New Zealand and Alaska and Canada and Europe. And they're all bugging out because they're worried about peak oil and other things. And it just took a little RNA virus and yet another shooting of an unarmed black guy to put the whole fragile system over the edge. I mean, it's been a fragile system for a long time, and we knew this. The Asia crisis in 97, the dot-com crisis in 2000, and the big one, the mortgage crisis 2008. We knew it was fragile. We've been talking about this for ages. If you watch Bill Moyer's journal, you know what I'm talking about. So now it's all starting to fall apart, or maybe not. How dare you say so? How dare you even think so? But maybe it is. And people are bugging out. They're talking about Bitcoin and stuff. What are we going to do? What's the next thing? We can't sustain the kind of growth we've had. This infinite growth economy thing, this global financialized scam, we can't maintain it. It's not sustainable. Oh, God. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Working stiff? Joe Blow? Mr. Blister? What are you going to do? Everybody's going to have to think that through, man. People are talking gardens and stuff. I mean, they're not going to be able to maintain the subways anymore in Manhattan without that tax base. And even the Russian oligarchs and the Ukrainian oligarchs and the Chinese and Japanese investors, all these people that used to want some assets denominated by the US dollar, are starting to bug out. They're challenging the greenback. There goes the neighborhood. And China and India are having a little spat. And we've forgotten about the old COVID thing. That's no fun anymore when you have all these street protests. When you're like learning from Hong Kong how to get flash mobs going and so on and so forth. You're occupying Seattle, Capitol Hill, you know, when you're doing that kind of stuff. Who cares about an RNA virus? Much less climate change. I have to put the scream sound effect. Nobody cares about that. I mean, it doesn't really matter until it matters, right? And then we're going to forget about it because we're going to be programmed to want to go along with the scam until the wealthy people who emerged from the logic of the system without having to conspire really too much, until they took over the game itself and could play it the way they wanted to, until those people get everything they can get. But the funny thing is now, those people are hiring consultants to tell them, how do you keep your private army loyal to you when the shit hits the fan? Do you pay them in Bitcoin? Do you pay them in silver? Do you pay them in land? It's really going back to this, like, I'm a samurai and you're a loyal vassal, and these are our serfs, our farmer types. And we're going to go in and we're going to tax them by taking their rice or their wheat or their corn. Only this time you won't be able to grow corn at scale to feed your burgers, I mean your cattle. So that's going to be a problem, you know. And you're going to have fake meat and all that stuff. Meanwhile, you're going to be trying to figure out, can I afford to upload my consciousness into the cloud? Can I get my bionic body sorted out? What about my children? Can I use all the technology in the world to ensure that they come out as some kind of super person? And all of this culture war thing, that's not going to go away. Because they're stoking that with their information warfare, getting us all pissed off at each other. So we're looking this way when something happens over there. How are we going to sort this out? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to sell the store? You're going to put a tomato hothouse on the roof of your apartment building Are you going to band together in groups of people? I don't know. I've been watching the Rebel Wisdom stuff for quite a while, a few weeks. Introduced to some of those guys recently. I've been watching Wheel for a long time because I was in the old business consulting, corporate training biz for a while. So he was on my radar. But Schmachtenberger and Jordan Hall, they weren't. They're a lot of fun. And that whole clique, going back to the Game B people, is fun. They're having the right conversation. But who gives a fuck about that? You know? Getting wise. Growing up, learning how to discern what's good information and bad information, and empowering yourself to be a more free agent and make good choices and not be manipulated and buffeted about by the zeitgeist. It's not easy. So what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Anyway, I like watching those guys. They're fun. They're having the right conversation. They're white, mostly. And they're probably all from California. How's that movement going to translate in India and Indonesia and Dubai and Nigeria and Chad and Somalia, Pakistan? I don't know. We got to get wise, man, because we got all these existential threats everywhere. And technology's moving pretty quick. And a lot of things in our world today are black boxes. We don't know how to fix ourselves. Could get out of hand because we really can't probabilistically figure out what the real risks are. Artificial intelligence could kind of like out-intelligence us. Do we live in a civilization? I mean, who among you out there in the world think about this stuff? And when you do, it makes your head hurt, and you say to people like me, golly gee, Stephen, this is a bit too cerebral for my taste. I'd rather go to MSN and get the news. I'm into the rage machine, because that stimulates my serotonin, oxytocin. All those lovely brain chemicals. I'm a limbic system type of person. I know what matters to me. I hate Donald Trump, and he tried hydroxychloroquine, so that shit's bad for you, no matter how you prescribe it. And how you use it, when you take it, for what, off-label or on-label. We got the election coming up. Whoever wins, the other side's going to say it was stolen, that's for sure. You got people manipulated by social media going out with hammers and axes and knives and AR-15s to meet the black mobs. Antifa coming after us to get us. Fear rules. It's a great tool. And we wonder, are we living in the end of times, the worst time in history, or do we want to look back and see what happened in the 40s and the 30s and the 20s and the 19th century and the 18th century, when the Scythians were ruling the steppes? Which was the best time in history to live? Pre-antibiotic or probiotic? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, we're going to have fun. We're going to try to make it light and easy. Keep your sense of humor. Keep your friendships. Build your soft skills. Your communication skills, your ability to tell a joke, because you're going to need to make friends again when the grid goes down and we don't have the interwebs anymore. I'm not going to throw space debris into this conversation and suggest that we might lose our networks because of some kind of an accident in orbit that wrecks a bunch of satellites. Because we're clever enough to make local networks for our mobile phones and our interwebs. And once we have the technology, we can educate some engineers in our neighborhood to keep the YouTubes up so we can talk to each other. I'm not going to talk about VR hangovers and addiction. Swipe, 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 swipe. No, I'm not. But I'm going to suggest that we have an opportunity now with all of these funny things going on around inequality, climate change, and other existential risks to the sustainability of life on Earth, not just Homo sapiens life on Earth. We take advantage of this time and figure out what's next. And if we can't do it, never mind that. What if? Imagine that. I mean, cogitate, ruminate, contemplate, meditate. Think about it for a while. Could be fun. All right, I'm going to stop for now. That was thoroughly annoying. Bouliam tea, out.